Welcome to today's video, guys. This is a very exciting piece of the SR puzzle. You guys know my friend Mike over at New JDM has helped us out with a lot of vapor honing stuff and zinc plating on all the bolts and stuff. But this is the first time I've had him do a complete restoration on a piece. It's something that he does often for his clients. In this case, it's the exact same intake manifold as this that came off the other engine. I told him to give me the works. I'm excited to see it. Look at this. All assembled and everything too. God damn. Now, don't mind the fuel rail. I'm not using this fuel rail. That's why I told him not to worry about it. But this is some next level right here. Yon, check this out.
Yeah, that's really clean.
I'm so excited. God, this looks amazing. We need to be able to do vapor honing here.
Yeah.
I know a guy in Connecticut that we could probably steal one from. Sometimes I heard he leaves it in his driveway.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I heard you got a new place too.
Yep.
You could just
Real big driveway to leave SR20s in.
Nice.
Just starting to take this thing apart. Hopefully I'll start to get the new one on today, even though I'm waiting on a few little gaskets. So happy this engine's clean. This might be like a really bad thing to do, but I've done it on many alternators and they've always still worked, so hopefully I didn't just jinx myself. But it's better than painting an alternator, and it shines it up pretty quick. Just hit it with a wire wheel and look
yeah,
at
I mean,
it,
you can
it's
see
all
it
shiny.
before and after.
Yeah, very good. She ain't bad. You want to know one of the biggest secrets to restoring cars that I learned from Tommy? The biggest secret that we struggled with the R34 is having a core. Now that we have economies of scale with SR20s, as I pull something off, if I have three things that look very similar, it's not a guessing game of which one it is. I simply match it, go, okay, that's the one. I have the nut, I go, okay, that's the one. I have the bolt, okay, that's the one. C-clip, boom. And just like that, you could be really dumb and still figure it out. Just like me. I'm really regretting not putting this thing in an engine stand. I thought it was going to save time, but now I'm just working in like a puddle of coolant. Big brain move. Now, take bracket off. Wouldn't you know? New. Oh. I feel like I've said this 700 times, but in case you're joining us in this video, this whole turbo manifold and turbo setup, it's a Gen 2 2871, which is actually a really good turbo for an SR. A little bit big compared to what I like, but will be perfect for a stock rod bottom end. So I'm gonna basically boop, boop, put it on the other engine. I might keep this manifold, I might not. Looks like it's been cracked and rewelded one time, so probably not the best idea to do it. Maybe I'll get a new one from ISR or something, but I'm gonna pull this Johnny off, and this thing's getting a top mount. I'm really torn, because it'd be cool to keep it stock and have everything bolt right back up, but at the same time, if I could put a G25 on this thing too, it's like the best turbo ever for SRs. Ooh, and they have the one that bolts right in the stock location. I should definitely do that. I haven't tried one of those yet. This would be a cool car to try it on. Welcome to another boring video about SR20s. Absolutely the best engine ever. Okay, the goal is to get the intake manifold on today, but before we do that, we're going to be doing a little bit of coolant line simplification. For whatever reason, it's a lot more confusing in an S14 than it is in an S13, and I'll kind of show you why when we put the intake manifold on. Had to reach out to my boy Samit. Other than him about my rocker arms, he did give us some good helpful advice. What they essentially did on Oka-chan's race car, this is a piece that attaches kind of like this, and this is one of the water lines that we'll be able to delete. This, to my understanding, is kind of just like one of the extra lines to feed through the heater core when the thermostat isn't open, so it's not blocked completely, but it's getting deleted. Sorry, Mr. Zinc. So I'm gonna pull this out, and then Johan is going to, yeah, it's kind of a pain. He's gonna weld that shit up. Yeah.
Very strong boy.
I'm a man, Johan.
Very strong boy.
I'm offended. I just smack Johan in the face.
Don't worry about my hand. Oop.
Look at that. Ugh. So what's the plan? Just weld beads?
Yeah, just play the beat around the circle until the beats meet together in the center.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yep. Nice. New JDM, old JDM.
You could sell that for like $50.
I know. I was thinking about leaving it in my driveway and see if someone takes it. Number 2 that's getting plugged actually comes out on the front of the intake manifold. There's a little coolant passage that comes from the head. It's important to still let that flow, but this guy just went to the throttle body warmer that would bump idle up a little bit when the car's cold. The whole idea of this is to just delete any possible leaks because they're annoying to fix on the side of the road and could cost you an engine. Today's project is to get both the intake and exhaust manifold on. Before I mount the intake manifold, I'm starting to mock up everything. What I'll be using on this build is Radium's S14 SR fuel rail. So you guys know I love Radium stuff. They have a really nice quality product. Everything is really nice finish and very thoughtfully engineered. What I like about this so much is it comes with a kit. Obviously you go to top feed to accommodate the D-Strix injectors that we're gonna be running, but what I think I'm the most hyped about is an option was an add-on fuel pressure regulator that is direct mount. So we're gonna avoid having to run lines from the fuel rail to a fuel pressure regulator that is mounted somewhere in the engine bay. And this kit comes with nice little swivel fittings for both the exit of the fuel rail, which will be coming through the fuel pressure regulator, and for the fuel pressure regulator itself in case you need to clock it or anything. But I'm just kind of mocking everything up now, trying to figure out how I'm gonna route the fuel lines before I mount the intake manifold, in case I need to go under or over. But Johan's pretty much done with welding all the coolant delete stuff. So it's almost time for me to finally mount this. So this is kind of how everything will lay. Originally I wanted to put this on the front, but in terms of clearance between the VCT stuff and then all these lines, it's gonna be a little tight. So what I'm gonna try to do is run the feed kind of underneath it with a 180 fitting here. Drift HQ should have one over there, so Dorte's gonna go see if he can grab one for me so I can start mocking that up. But the problem comes into play with the top mount conversion on this setup with your whole IAC stuff. So this thing is going to hit. I'll show you just for illustrative purposes. Look at that. I don't even need to put it on. You can see it gonna hit. So what we do, we take it off, and Radium sells a IAC spacer. So what this does is it basically deletes the need to use this and spaces out the IAC for clearance. So that's what I'm gonna do right now. Mike over at New JDM did a really job zinc coating all this stuff that we're about to take off. I might see if I can just trim this bracket so I can still retain these two little vacuum lines because I like how they look, and it'll be a little bit nicer than having to go underneath the intake manifold and use this stuff. But for now, we're just gonna remove it, make sure we don't have any interference. And I should really replace these lines anyway. They're very old and rubber. Hopefully it'll make more sense when I pull this off. Okay, it does. So this comes from this passage, which is probably the release of the IAC where it like lets air bleed out, I guess. That makes sense. And then that would probably, I guess, go back into the intake or something, where this will essentially block that off. See, doesn't let it through. And then instead it'll come out of this barb right here. Very smart, very clever Radium. Comes with a little gasket. Pop that boy on, we'll seal her up. With paper gaskets, Permatex makes a little spray gasket sealant. You guys have seen us use this before. Just kind of helps make sure you get a good seal there. Got that. Then goes this guy. I don't know if it's gonna stick there and hold in place. Be sick if it do. Gonna replace the exhaust manifold studs These ones actually seem to be cooperating quite a bit, so they might have already been replaced once, but even though the manifold I'm using, it'll be really easy to service, I still rather do this once than have to do it because one breaks.
Not good at applying RTV to stuff, and SR20 will teach you how. Every single thing. Y'all LS nerds and you're ready to go gaskets from AutoZone, you don't know the struggle.
It looks a little phallic, but it came out great. This is going to simplify everything a bunch. There'll be no more heater lines. There'll just be one line that goes from this to the bottom of the intake manifold. Boom, done. Only other thing that really needs to go on down here, I have like a Mishimoto sandwich plate for the oil filter so I can get oil cooler lines. But other than that, I think I'm pretty much ready to put the intake manifold on. I just wanted to make sure we had all this stuff down here tidy first, just so nothing gets forgotten about. I'm real good at like half tightening things and forgetting about them. So I'm trying to not do that on this. Not 100% sure if I need to do this, but
You're ready to go times.
yeah, dude, come on. Get a nice even spread. There's a water jacket in the intake manifold gasket. If you guys remember my woes of my RB25 life where I just kept leaking water all the time from that, we don't want that. So we're just gonna go a little overkill and put silicone in there. Right, John?
See.
As I said before, a lot of this build is just kind of using what I know and I've learned over time. We're going with these same tried and true D-Schwerks 1500cc top feed injectors. These are the same injectors that I'm running my S13 for years now, along with a DW400 pump. Just one single in-tank pump makes plenty of power, over 500 on ethanol. No need for surge tanks or crazy dual pump setups. Just keeping it simple because that's kind of the premise with this build. But anyway, I'm going to use some of their super lube that they include. Lube up the O-rings on these seats, then start to pop the injectors and the fuel rail on so I can get that upper half of the intake manifold all bolted up. Like a glove. Cooperate, please. I hope this isn't the harder side. Usually there's one side that's harder. Why you look at me?
You do the thing, so I film the thing.
All right, this engine is getting an extremely special manifold. You've probably never seen anything like this before because this is the very first prototype version that I am gratefully using. So there's a company from Australia called Artec Performance, and they're basically trying to reinvent the wheel with these cast manifolds by taking like a tubular design and making an extremely good looking, thoughtful designed and well-flowing manifold. But the coolest thing is they're all built around Garrett V-bands. They have like a V-band system with like different adapters to mount any turbo, so you don't need to hack the flange off and weld them. But I'm excited because I have cracked actually quite a few manifolds on SRs, both low mounts and top mounts. The low mount from this one has already been cracked and welded a few times. I might not even put this back on the engine. I might just see if I can get another one. But Drift HQ is going to be one of the first places to get these in our hands. We'll have them for sale later this year, but this is technically the beta version right now. They're 347 grade stainless. They're about 3 mil thick, which is pretty much the same as most tubular manifolds. And obviously I don't have the turbo on right now, so I can't comment on it. But this wastegate placement and where the turbo placement is supposed to be the ideal placement for a lot of different builds. It's not exactly an equal length runner, so I'm not too sure what it's going to sound like. The equal length kind of makes mine sound raspy and like almost like a rotary. It'd be cool if this was somewhere in between kind of like a low mount growl and a top mount rasp, but we'll see. I'm gonna mock this up right now. And they are also making a lot of other really cool cast manifolds for like JZ, RB, and we'll be the first to get our hands on them at Drift HQ. So if you guys have any questions or if you want to reserve one, because the first batch is going to be on the smaller side, just let us know. So we'll be reusing my favorite turbo in the entire world, the G25 550 on this thing. Cool thing with the manifold placement, dipstick doesn't need to be bent or relocated. I have to do that on my S13 and it's really annoying because it never wants to like come out right. But this turbo, it comes on, if I remember correctly, somewhere between like 3,800 and 4 grand, but that's without variable cam timing. So I'm excited to see what it feels like with this. But what I love about it so much, and it felt the same way in the JZ, is that once you're in boost, if you're like anywhere over 4 grand, the transient response is like mind blowing. You barely even need a clutch kick, just on off throttle. It feels like a V8, and it is mind boggling, and it is my favorite turbo in the world. And I am super excited to run it on many more SRs in the future. Literally my favorite engine to drive ever is that car, but it's just so sentimental to me that I don't let myself drive it. And now I'm gonna get to drive it all the time. Win-win. One only for me.
Very strong boy.
I'm a man,
Very
Johan.
strong boy.
I'm offended. I just slapped Johan in the face.